Well, good morning, my fellow humans. Keith the Human, Park City, Kentucky. It is Easter Sunday, 2025. Uh, yeah. Oh, and it's also 420. So, for those of you who know, y'all know. Anywho, so a lot of y'all don't know a lot about me. A few videos I've made about my upbringing on here. I was raised up, they call it here in Kentucky. Uh, reared. I was brought up in a church, a Pentecostal church, from about the time I was 6 years old. Uh, my mom's family, I guess, were Baptist at the time, but there was a evangelical preacher going around trying to start a church, and they actually started this church in it was a trailer. They got the trailer and put some chairs in it, and that was the church for a long time until they got enough people going they could build again. It never did get real huge. They added a couple rooms on it and moderate sized church. But I grew up in that stuff, and being brought up like that, you don't realize how strange a lot of that is to the outside world until you bring your friends to church with you. I always freaked them out because if y'all know what Pentecostal is, it's the holy rollers, y'all, the ones that jump up and down and shout and stomp around, pass out, speak in tongues, heal each other. Uh, well, a sect of them actually handles snakes and drinks poison. That's the same church I went to, Church of God, but they were the Church of God up there. God, Church of God is like I like to call it. That's how those preachers sounded when they said God. But yeah, sect of them up there in the mountains, they actually do that snake handling shit. Same Church of God, but it's different churches have different rules, just like all the denominations. I'm gonna make a video about all the denominations one day. I wanted to write a book about it called Sunday Morning Division. If we all supposed to worship the same God, well, you got I don't know how many different Baptists are now, 57 different divisions of the Baptist church. That's just the Baptist church. And then you go on and on and on and on and on. But it's all supposed to be the same God, or God. But I was raised up in that church, and I didn't see a lot of stuff, you know, as inherently crazy until I started getting older. But I didn't really, I questioned a whole lot of what they were trying to feed me at a young age. I guess Noah's Ark was one of the first ones I jumped on. Like, what? Come on now. Uh, Jonah and the whale. I was like, huh? Um, and I never could understand the whole original sin concept. I could never wrap my head around that. How could God blame everybody because somebody did something he didn't like and then curse everybody from then on? That what? And then they turn around and say, well, he's a loving God and he loves you unconditionally, and yada, 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 but only if you're saved. But, but even after you're saved, because we weren't one of them once saved, always saved, like a lot of Baptists are. You get saved and you're home free. You can do whatever you want to. Um, we wasn't like it. You had to constantly be praying and don't let the sun go down for sin on your head. And they just keep you scared to death all the time. And it was really, really messed up. Um, Took me a long time to shake it. I was an atheist for a long time. I'm not an atheist now. I'm a spiritual person. I believe we have souls. I believe we are souls. These bodies, I think, we're just transport systems, like a car. Um, and the reason I say that is I just felt that. I felt there's something into me. There's something to this the religion, that thing, in God. But I didn't agree with what they was trying to feed me about God, because I don't think they understood God. They were rehashing stuff that cavemen thought about God. And there's some great truths in the Bible and stuff, but there's also a lot of absurdity and a lot of contradictions, and it was written by men, to serve men's needs mostly. So, the more I read it, the more I got away from religion, and the more I became atheist for a while. Uh, but about the past 20 years, I've been studying NDE accounts and reviewing the research. And there's peer-reviewed research on this, y'all. It ain't just some quack people going, oh, I died and went to heaven. It ain't that. get into it, you'll understand where I'm coming from here. And it makes sense. Everything they come back and say makes sense. Um, but we'll get on that on another thing, another time. But so these people try to sell me a story that these two people that God created out of mud, and He breathed life into them and put them in this garden with everything they'd ever need. And there was these trees in there. One was the tree of life, and one was the tree of knowledge. They could eat off the tree of life. They could eat everything in there, but don't eat off the tree of knowledge, because I didn't want them to know nothing. I guess. I mean, that's kind of how church wants you to. They don't want you to know. They like dumb people. They really do. Easier to prey on. Well, not pray for, but prey on. Um, but they tell me a story that then there's a talking snake, and that was when what? Wait a minute, we ain't watching a Disney film. Uh, but there's a talking snake comes in and tells this girl to, uh, you know, eat that fruit, and she does, and she's all shit, and then she knows she's naked, and then she goes over and has her boyfriend there to eat that fruit, and oh God, oh, they gotta go hide from God, and then God went looking for them because the guy who made the universe and everything couldn't find these two humans, and that right there was like, what? So he couldn't find them, so he looked for them, and he finally found them, and they were ashamed, and then he knew, that they had eaten that fruit, and he said, get the fuck out of here, and they were like, well, we're sorry, get the fuck out of here. I don't want to see y'all again. You're banished. I'm cursing your children. Yada, 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 yada. So they went out there and they had kids. And, you know, and their kids had kids. And then their kids had kids. But they all came from the same lineage. So I don't know how about the fourth generation. They just didn't die off. But that's God times, man. God biology don't work like our biology, I guess. But anyway, so that happened. And then one of the guys was a farmer. And he sacrificed all this, was sacrificing the most unblemished animal that they could find to God. Because God gets off on that shit for some reason. I didn't understand that. I was like, what? You mean you want to kill an animal for God and say, hey, God, look, we did this for you. And God's like, I'm pleased. That made no sense to me. But there's a whole lot of violent shit back in there and all that time. They thrive on violent shit. And then because he hated Eve so much, he said, well, you're going to be in pain in childbirth over it, And God was just pissed, man. I don't know, don't sound too all loving and forgiving to me, but that's the story. So I guess until Jesus came, and I don't know how the conversation went. God say, Jesus, y'all go down there and they're going to kill you. Tell them how to be good. They're going to kill you. I don't want to flood the world again, So, but this is what has to happen. They're going to kill you and sacrifice you to me, which you are me, and I am you, because we are one. The Holy Ghost, I don't know if they were even in on it. They were just sitting over in the corner, I guess, on their phone. But, so God goes, yeah. And Jesus is like, what? And he's like, yeah, that's how I have to fix all this. Just trust me. Trust the plan. And Jesus said, all right, So then God goes down and finds this 14-year-old chick out there and says, hey, come here. And he knocks her up, and she has a baby Jesus in this in the stable out there. And these people's following the star and to come find him and shit, And then all the babies around that age was killed because somebody said, well, Jesus is coming. And he's like, who Jesus? Oh, he's the savior of these people. Oh, we got to kill all the kids. So he kills all the kids around there. I don't know how many thousands of babies got killed there. But I don't know what God did. He said, hey, man, don't do that. And but he did. That's how it happened. So, and then Jesus grew up and he started attacking the religion and stuff. We don't hear a whole lot about him. He's a teenager and he went to the temple and told these old people in the temple, these old religious fruitcakes, what it was. And they had it out for him, And then flash forward, we get to his life later on, and he's got these 12 guys who walk around with him in the desert, and they go around healing people and telling people to love your neighbors. They even said love your enemies, And they were like, and the church was like, you can't be saying that shit, And Jesus was like, yeah, we can. Watch us. I can walk on water. And, he turned some water into wine and stuff and told people to be good and be decent to each other. But he still get into it with them church folk. And then the church folk was in a church and they're selling stuff and stuff. And I pissed Jesus off, man. And he got a whip. He went in there and run them out of there and said, get out of here with that shit. This is church. You don't belong here. So he does all that shit. And then he rides into Jerusalem on a donkey slash colt slash horse slash, I don't know, armadillo, because they all say something different. And then when he goes in there, and then does all this, everybody loves him. Well, some people love him, not everybody. The Romans didn't love him, and the Pharisees didn't love him. So he had one of his dudes, man, old Judas, he was a money hungry, like that money. So he went and told them where he was at, and then they come and they arrested him. They cut a dude's ear off, and he put it back on to one of the soldiers. Because then he said, those who live by the sword die by the sword, and he pushed swords away, and that's what happened. And they took him, and they beat the shit out of him, and brutalized him, and it was horrific. Cut him, stabbed him, beat him to shit, stripped him naked, and hung him on a cross to die. And the council said, as far as crucifixions go, his wasn't that long. Some of them was days, I think his was over like 4 or 5 hours. But they hung him on that cross and everything, and even while he was on that cross, he's like, hey, God, why'd you let this happen to me? And, God didn't say nothing to him, that was part of the plan, I guess. But anyway, and they put him in the hole, and they put him in there, and they come back there to look on him, and they rolled that stone back where the sarcophagus or what they're called, tomb, and he wasn't there. He wasn't there. So they must have sucked him up to heaven, and like 3 days later, or I don't know how many days it was. I get lost on all this shit. But anyway, they saw this guy, and he goes, don't you recognize me? And I'm like, no. He goes, I'm Jesus. He's like, what? He's like, yeah, come back. And they were like, oh, shit. And so they went and partied with Jesus for a while. So anyway, get back to where I started. This is Easter. And they're celebrating, and I say the death of Jesus. People want to correct me on that. No, we're celebrating the resurrection, but I say, well, you can't have a resurrection without a death. Oh, by the way, guys, I'm wearing my Sunday best today. In case you didn't see it, my Lord of the Lies shirt. I did my hair up for you. It's my Easter Sunday best. So anyway, that's the story of Jesus in a nutshell. So they go to church today. Every year they do it, and some people get crazy about it, and they don't eat meat, and it's just all kinds of crazy shit goes around this. And they celebrate his death. I remember being in church at Pentecostal, especially we'd sing these songs like, "Are you washed? Are you washed in the snow or the soul cleansing blood of the Lamb? I cherish the old rugged cross. I'm gonna exchange my pain one day for a crown." There's a whole lot of suffering in these old hymnals. There's a whole lot of bloodletting and just, I don't know. It's when you're in it, you don't realize it. When you step back and look at it, you're like, holy shit, man. I was singing those songs and I don't even know what they meant. Now I know. So anyway, so Jesus had to have a blood sacrifice to save all of us so we can go to heaven. None of that ever made any sense to me. But like I say, we're here, celebrated around the world. Catholics especially, they reenact some of them crucifixions. Get down with it. But so we're here, and I just don't understand how these people can go in these churches when they support a man who's right now taking brown-skinned people, which Jesus was a brown-skinned person, and literally crucifying them. He's sending them to other countries and putting them in a jail. They'll never get out. Well, their families will never see them again without any due process. Hell, Jesus even had some due process. It wasn't much of some, I mean, he let the people decide, and the people picked Barabbas. And that's where we're at right now. Barrabas was supposed to have been a thief that was up there. And he said, hey, I'll let one of these go. Which one? And they cheered for Barabbas. They wanted Jesus up there because they were evil and sick and fucked up. And that's where we're at right now. People are evil, sick, and fucked up. So they're going to pick Barabbas. These churchgoers, they're celebrating Jesus right now. Their salvation, whatever the fuck that means. What did it salivate them from? What did it release them from? They're full of anger and hatred and fear. They're liars and pushers of liars. They're corrupt as can be. And that old Pentecostal church that I grew up in, they couldn't wait for the day that somebody would overturn Roe v. Wade. That was their whole shtick. Nothing else matters, just that. Not biblical. Not nowhere in there does it say, "Hey, man, vote for a demon to make people believe what you want to believe." Now it's about changing hearts, but they picked the devil. They picked Barabbas over Jesus for their agenda. So these people are all going there this Sunday today to compare their clothes and their new cars and their new cell phones and their new watches and their new rings. Oh, and what kind of shoes are those? What's that perfume you're wearing? Hey, let's go over here and tell some lies and gossip about people. Because that's all that fucking shit is. And they'll get some preacher up there, preach this big boo-hoo sermon about this shit. And get people all in the fields and pass that plate around, get all that money. Then they'll go eat and then they'll go egg hunt with their fucking kids, man. Like, they don't even know what that is. Well, Jesus died today, so let's go celebrate a pagan tradition. It celebrates a rabbit. It was about fertility. And they've somehow twisted that, like they have Christmas, twisted that into their sick vision. And this is the fucked up thing about the whole Jesus thing. Jesus came here, in my opinion. I think Jesus was real. I think Jesus is the Son of God. Jesus was sent here for a thing, like we all are. We're all part of God. Jesus was special. He came down here to tell people how to live, how to act, how to treat your neighbors. And most of the stuff about Jesus in the New Testament, I believe it's I think we should forgive people. I think we shouldn't judge people. I think we should try to be decent to people. He told the guy on the cross, hey, he goes, how do I get to heaven? He goes, love your God with all your heart and love your brothers. And that's it. But instead of just following Jesus like he asked him, his life was a testimony to trying to be a good person. Just trying to be, if you try to be like Jesus and follow him, everything would have been fine. But no, they took and twisted his death all up and turned that into a religion. And look what that religion has done. Look what it has wrought up on this planet. The most evil and corrupt, lying, rapist, traitor, maniacal, demonic, con artist, Russian-owned traitor, most despicable and lying person we've ever seen, not just in American history, in the history of the world. Noam Chomsky warned us of Donald Trump in his first term. He said he's the most dangerous person in history. More dangerous than Hitler, more dangerous than Mussolini, more dangerous than anybody that we had ever seen. And he was right. Because he's got a cult behind him. And these cult were homegrown. His cult members were homegrown in these churches. These evangelical, Pentecostals, Baptists, Catholics. They were homegrown. They were trained all their lives for this moment. For their new king. The man who is the exact opposite of the Savior that they celebrate today. You can't make this shit up. It's unfucking believable. But here we are. But anyway, we'll get back to more church stuff later, and we'll get into that more. This video's gone a little bit long when I wanted to. Maybe some of y'all watch it. If y'all like my sermon here today, guys, there's a lot more. I got tons of videos on different things. Go check them out if you like what you see. Like this video if you like it, if you agree with me. Drop a comment down there, and we'll talk about it. if you didn't like it. I mean, anything, guys. I want some feedback from you guys. Um, also, if you dig my channel, please subscribe to it and share it with other people. And let me get out there to more people and talk to more people. Um, I may not be right about a whole lot of things, but this is the way I feel. And I think I can connect with some folks if y'all help me out. Anyway, guys, that's all I got for today. Y'all go out and have a beautiful day. It is awesome here in South Central Kentucky. It's gonna be 80 degrees. It's breezy, sunny. Perfect, 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 perfect. If weather's that way where you're at, get out there and enjoy some of that. But anyway, I love you guys. Y'all keep fighting a good fight. Peace.